You're listening to the Fast F1 Podcast. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Fast F1 Podcast with me, Danny Kane.
And I'm Eddie Meteye-O'Kane.
Today we are reviewing the Japanese Grand Prix of 2024. What do you think of the race, Eddie?
I wasn't too thrilled about this one. I don't know why.
Yeah, it was an okay race. I think it had a lot of action in it, but it didn't have action at the front of the field, which always takes it down a little bit. But it was an exciting race where the action was happening, at least.
Yeah.
So let's start out with FP1. Logan Sargent, the American, crashed again.
Shoot.
And after last week, 2 weeks ago, when he crashed, he didn't crash, Albon crashed, and Albon took Sargent's car. This time, Sargent crashed. They got it repaired, so he was able to qualify, and he qualified in 19th.
It wasn't last, though.
It was not last, that's true.
It was Joe in last.
But yeah, still not very good for the American who's been struggling and whose seat is in danger for next year.
Yeah, if I had to say anything, I know I really want an American to still be in F1, because the last one we had, I think, was Scott Speed, right?
Yeah, no, he's not the last one, but I think that Rossi was the last American besides
yes.
Sargent. But yeah, it's not looking very good for Sargent to keep his seat. Otherwise, qualifying pretty normal in terms of what cars were where. But Lance Stroll was knocked out in Q1.
Which was even bigger of a surprise than the last time.
It is, and it reminds me of last season when he was getting knocked out in Q1 a lot. And Alonso, meanwhile, started in 5th place, was it?
Yep.
I believe. So, again, Alonso, as much as I don't personally like him, he is a phenomenal driver.
He really is.
And showing his class yet again. So, then we get into the race.
Yes.
First lap, not even half a lap into the race, and there's a red flag.
And it's the first actual crash of the year.
Yeah, well, in racing, yeah.
Well, yeah, in racing.
Well, no, because Russell had a big crash at Australia.
That wasn't technically... I don't technically think that it was Alonso's fault. I'm not an Alonso fan either.
You're talking about Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was still a crash.
Well, yeah.
But this time,
I don't
cars
think it's
colliding with each other.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Albon and Ricciardo collided, and both of them into the wall. So how did you view that crash?
It took me a moment to figure out who it was or who it was not, or if it was not a crash that was worth investigating, or it was pretty difficult to configure. And I did think that this could be pretty bad for Ricciardo, because instead of 2 races to show if he's able to maintain the seat, he only has 1 now.
Well, where do you think that he's only got 2 races to...
Pretty sure that the team said that, didn't they?
No, they haven't said that. No, they haven't said anything about how much time he has. They just, he's got to show his worth, but he's not on a limited time schedule. But all the same, not a good look for Ricciardo, crashing out with Albon. At the same time, wasn't really Ricciardo's fault, in my opinion. It wasn't Albon's fault either. I think it was just one of these things that happens. I think that even in the cool-down room, that one of the drivers, I don't know if it was Verstappen or Perez or Sainz, but one of them was pointing out, it looked like Ricciardo was looking to his left in the mirrors to see if there was a car coming up alongside him on the left, and meanwhile, Albon's on his right, so he wouldn't have seen him, and they just collided. And I really don't think you can apportion blame to either of them. I think it's just one of those things that happens.
But it did, and I totally agree with you, but he did actually talk to some reporters. He does say that he, and I quote, always imagines if there is someone behind him. And I thought that was kind of odd, I guess you could say.
Well, I think that's kind of the point, is that he was aware that somebody might be coming up from behind, but I think he was looking to the left, expecting that person to be on the left, not coming from his right. Yeah. But all the same, the two of them collided both into the wall, red flag, and had to repair the track. And then a short while later, they had another standing start, restart, and same as the first start, Verstappen easily into the lead, and it was all kind of line astern, and from first through about 10th, everybody just kind of fell into line.
And then there was a couple things during the restart. The 2 Alpines touched. Nico Hülkenberg gets a terrible start.
Yeah, Hülkenberg did not get off the line very well the second start.
Which sucks, because he could have been looking at some points.
Yeah, and actually despite that, and he had to pit pretty quickly after the restart. I don't know that I ever found out why, but very soon after the restart, he had to pit, which put him on a really bad strategy, and he had to pit again later in the race. Despite all of that, he still made it all the way back up to 11th. So there was definitely points available for Hülkenberg if he could have had a cleaner restart.
I believe that, and yeah, they never showed anything, but I believe he might have gotten hit from behind by one of the cars and slightly punctured a wheel or something. We don't know. We haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, you and I didn't see it anyway. There might be an explanation for it online, but we haven't seen that explanation. Yeah. Otherwise, the rest of the race, Verstappen, pretty easy win. Just kind of slowly walked away from Perez again.
Of course.
Yeah, he's a force to. He's quite a force and not to be stopped. But aside from Verstappen, there was a lot of action in the race, but it all happened kind of in the midfield.
Yeah, and that there was a mighty pit stop, and the home hero came out on top, gaining, I think, 3 places in the pits, which was extraordinary.
That was really cool, actually. 5 or 6 different cars all came in the same lap, and they were all together coming into the pits, and then they all left the pits together. Yeah, Tsunoda picked up 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 places just in the pits.
Meanwhile, the 4 cars behind him were 2 cars side by side in 2 rows.
Yeah, it was quite an exciting few laps there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of action. With the cars all in close proximity to each other. Tsunoda came out on top in that one and ended up scoring a point at the end in his home race.
Yeah, well, congratulations as well, because I think it's been about 10 years since the last Japanese driver, Kamui Kobayashi.
Yeah, to score points at the
Japan.
Japanese. Yeah. And that would I think he got a podium that day, too.
I do, too. I'm pretty sure he got, I think he got 3rd.
Well, in either way, he got a podium, and no such luck for Tsunoda, but still in the points on his home Grand Prix,
which is amazing.
Which is really good. Hülkenberg, like I said, finished 11th. Tsunoda made some really good moves.
He did
on the outside of turn 6. Not usually a place that you see passing, but he was moving up the field quickly. Hülkenberg was doing well. There were a lot of passes on the main straight today.
Yeah, not just the main straight, though, too. There was a lot of areas between the exit of Sector 1 and the entrance to Sector 2 where, I forget what it's called, double, or the second...
Second Degnas?
Second Degnas. Quite a few cars running off there, I would say.
Yep, so Sargent went off track when he locked up going into the second Degnas, and then there were a few cars coming out of second Degnas that went wide and got squirrely. Leclerc was one of them. That's when Perez got by him. I think Norris had a moment coming out of second Degnas as well.
I think Perez had a moment too.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, yeah, Perez, yep.
Yeah, and then the right after that, too, the Spoon Corner, just a bit later, many overtakes that were amazing, as usual at that corner. That's always
Spoon? I think I only saw... I guess there were a couple of them.
There were a couple of them, mostly by Sainz.
Yeah, Sainz made one on Hamilton. I think he went around Russell going into Spoon as well, so that was good. Sainz actually had a pretty good race strategy, which is not what Ferrari is known for.
Not at all.
But
if you look back to 2020 or 2019.
All of the last few years, it seems like that was a pretty consistent problem for Ferrari with strategy, and it seems like they've cleaned that up a little bit. Sainz's strategy worked really well, so to get him ahead of Norris, McLaren's strategy actually lost them 2 positions because they lost out to Sainz and Leclerc because of strategy.
I thought I had a lot of feelings this race. Quite a few of them actually came true. I actually thought that the stake team was looking really good, and I told my dad, well, now they just don't need to crash or get out of the race, and they also don't need to get a not terrible but bad pit stop, both of which happened for Joe.
Well, I mean, he didn't have a bad pit stop. He just had to retire the car. Yeah. They had gearbox problems. Bottas lost out in that pit stop where a bunch of cars pit at the same time because he had a little bit of a slow stop. But I think that Sauber is intentionally moving slow at their pit stops just to make sure that they're doing everything correctly because they've had such a bad time with pit stops this year.
Yeah.
In the meantime, a lot of the passes that were happening on the front straight were the Alpines being passed.
That's true.
The Alpines are so slow this year.
And they had just I do think I remember, they had just gotten some new parts in too, and they're still doing so bad.
Whatever the deal was, it was not a good race. I think that Sargent still finished ahead of one of them.
They did.
Despite the fact that he went off track.
No, I don't think he did that. He was ahead of them for a long time. They were about 20 seconds, both of them, behind Sargent.
Yeah.
And then Sargent went wide near the end. I think he did get passed by both of them, though.
Okay. Well, either way, the Alpines just way, way off the pace.
I really don't know what happened.
Surprising just how really awful their car is this year.
Yeah. They went from, what was it, 5th in the standings? 6th?
They were 5th a few years ago, I think. But, yeah, I mean, last year they were 6th. Yeah, 6th, I believe.
That wouldn't cause that big of a problem, though.
Yeah, they're nowhere this year.
Well, then again, if you transition from 2018 to 2019 for Ferrari, that was pretty bad. That was pretty bad.
That wasn't going from midfield all the way to last.
That's true.
So we'll move on to our predictions from back at the end of the Australian Grand Prix. We predicted our Japanese Grand Prix results.
Yeah.
Eddie, you picked Leclerc, Verstappen, and Perez for first, second, and third.
And you picked all three.
And I picked
correct.
Verstappen, Perez, Sainz.
So you're guaranteed this one.
So I
Good
nailed
job.
it.
Nice job.
You weren't terribly far off. Verstappen and Perez, you were off by one for both of them, but Leclerc finished in fourth.
Yeah, after the end of the last episode, I told my dad, I feel like I should have not said Perez because I really had a nagging feeling for the past 2 weeks that I could have sworn that Perez could have a big crash somewhere in the race, but it didn't happen.
So what are you thinking then as far as the Chinese Grand Prix? The next one I believe it's in 2 weeks.
I'm so excited for that one to come back. And it's also going to be Joe's first home race, the first race at their home for the only ever Chinese driver too. And I love Shanghai. It's a beautiful circuit.
So what are your top three for the Chinese Grand Prix?
Let's totally put Joe at the top. No.
Joe to win, huh?
Not yet, no. No, I think it's gonna be a Leclerc this time.
Leclerc.
I'm gonna go a little out of my comfort zone.
Well, that's what you predicted last time too, was Leclerc to win.
I think it's gonna be a Ferrari 1-2 as well, and then Verstappen
Sainz in second.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna get Verstappen third.
Interesting. So Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen.
I'm going to go a little weird this time.
I'm going to go Verstappen with the win, and then Norris second, and Perez third.
That's even more odd than mine.
That's not odd. Verstappen in first, Perez in third,
Norris
just one position
second. He now holds the record for most podiums without a win.
Well, there you go. That's all the more reason for him to get second.
If you saw the fan footage about how mad he was flipping off a fan.
No, I didn't see anything about that.
Oh, you should totally watch it. Yeah, he's not too happy, but his win will come. I'm sure it will. He's a really good driver.
Well, all the same, I think that I nailed all three this week.
Okay,
so I'm pretty sure that I'm
smarty
onto
pants.
All right, well, that's been our Japanese Grand Prix review for 2024.
Yeah, why don't you just predict the rest of the championship then?
How about not?
Okay.
Thanks for listening to this episode, our Japanese 2024 Grand Prix review. Make sure you leave a like on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And until the Japanese Grand Prix, thanks for listening to the Fast F1 podcast with me, Danny Kane.
And I'm Eddie Meteye-O'Kane.
And we will see you again later.
Bye.
Fast F1 is produced by Danny Kane and Eddie